G'day friends and welcome to our channel. As part of having our caravan parked out in the bush, there were a few modifications that we needed to make for it to be more resilient to ember attack in the event of a bushfire, and these same additions were also necessary for keeping insects and frogs out of the air conditioner, where a bunch of mud wasps ended up making nests on the fan. Likewise, unsealed vents also needed to be covered up. So in this video we'll show you how this was done, and we'll even compare the effectiveness of fiberglass fly screens versus aluminium ones against fire. So up here on the roof we have the air conditioning shroud, and we've just taken out a bunch of screws like this, and the problem here is that all that's blocking all the internals is this screen here, and it's got pretty big gaps in it. So taking this off, we can see there's a frog there, and we don't need frogs in here because they can get munched up by the fans. And we can also see the wasps have been busy building nests. So in terms of the flammability of this air conditioner, well, that's polystyrene right here, so that is slightly flammable, but I think at the moment we've realized the biggest concern is animals building nests in here, which is not ideal at all. So these things are actually pretty wild, because what they do is, it's actually kind of scary. So that is a spider in there, and if you look in here, this is like a triple wasp nest, and what the wasps do is they catch little spiders and they stun them, as in they paralyze them with their stingers, and then they fill these nests, they lay an egg and they put the spiders in there so that the little baby wasp can eat the spiders as it matures. So it's pretty cool, also a bit freaky, but not something we want to have happening in our air conditioner. That's crazy. Oh man, look at that. Good morning. There's like 10 spiders in here. Madness. Alright, so all the nests are gone from in there. Blew them out using the blower over here. But now I know where the aircon hasn't been working, or I mean making a lot of noise. That has been jumping up and down all over this propeller or fan, whatever you call it. There we go. Now we're fixed. You can see they made nests on the bloody fan. So this massive thing here must have been under there somewhere, and there we go. So 2 birds, 1 stone. We're fireproofing this caravan and getting rid of wasp nests. Alright guys, so this is our plan of attack here. We've got this aluminium fly screen, and this is how the wasps get in. And what we're doing is I've cut the piece to size. It goes higher than the inlet point, so it's got, obviously this part here is covered by the shroud, but I've got it going onto here as well, just in case there's a gap in there and they want to come through, just to make it a little bit more difficult. And what we're doing is we're threading zip ties through. Like so. And the cool thing about getting these tiny zip ties is that you don't actually have to cut holes in a fly screen to get them through. If you just give it a little poke, they go straight in. And I found that zip ties are pretty good over time, so it's probably better than having this sitting on silicone or something, and we're not really bothered to try and come up with anything any more elaborate at this point, because this is working pretty good. So there you have it. We just threaded one through, and what this fly screen is doing is it's preventing there from being a gap in between, obviously here and there, so the wasps can't go in there and go underneath it. So this is basically what we're going to do for the majority of it. So where the air goes in, we're going to have no more wasps, because they won't be able to get through that. But of course this is also good for fire safety. Aluminium fly screens help to protect against embers, even though there's not really anything flammable in there. It all seems to be made out of metal, but we just want to be extra sure. So off we go. Alrighty, so we got the first section finished up, and I can't emphasize the importance of having zip ties on hand all the time. Doing this whole off-grid thing, zip ties have saved us many times. So we can see it's not obstructive. You can hardly see that there is now a fly screen there, and if you're a wasp, now you can no longer get in because it's all guarded off by this aluminium fly screen, and it will also help to stop any embers if there's a bushfire from causing any trouble in there. So of course we're going to do the same on the other side, so I'm not going to show you that, but I just noticed there's some holes in there. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to cut a big piece to size, and I'll put some silicone down and just stick the fly screen onto the silicone, and that'll take care of that. Alrighty, the latest update. Baby wipes are an indispensable resource when working in places like this, and what we've basically done is we've put aluminium mesh down there. So there's some silicone as an adhesive holding it down, and I found some tiny little screws that we have, and because this whole thing is made out of plastic, I secured them to the bottom with little screws. But the strange thing is that there's just so many holes there, like this one right here. There's heaps of holes that insects can crawl through. So we've got a bit of a different approach for those. We're just going to get little square, well, can you see that? We're just going to get little squares of aluminium fly screen and put like a circle of silicone down there and just plop these on, and that'll be okay to keep the wasps out. Wouldn't it be ideal if things were made insect proof from the beginning? There's a little square, and we're just gonna somehow get that into there. So, not sure how well you guys can see that, but this is now my favorite way to do it, because like that piece right over there, what you can see is that it's still working as a drainage hole, which I'm pretty sure what that is, for water to get out, but now it's been blocked off with the aluminium fly screen, and it's held on by silicone. So that's how we're going about this. And there's holes everywhere in this thing. It's kind of crap. If you look in there, there's another hole. So we'll have to block that off too. Welcome back. I've got one more bit of fly screen to show you guys in there. So you can see the messy silicone, and I put some screws in to hold that on as well. But as I've put the camera in, I've just realized there's one. Where is it? Right there. Isn't that crazy? So many little holes for insects to get in here and start nesting. But this is the last one, and then here's the mesh that we're working with on the other side. So we're going to do the same thing as on the other side of this one. And then all we've got is on the back of the shroud there, we're going to just fix that up with the fly screen as well, so the wasps can't get in through here, because I think this was their favorite way to get in, because there was a massive nest just in there. So okie doke, so we got the shroud of the air conditioner here. It's upside down obviously, and I think the universe has rewarded me a little bit for all this hard work today, because I've now discovered that this last section is actually going to be the easiest, because these grills, they pop out and then you can just cut the fly screen by holding it up against this. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to pop it back in with the fly screen on it, and you hardly need any zip ties to hold it on, because it's going to be pinched in there. So happy days. And here's an example of the finished product. Turned out pretty neat. So if we take a look at the back of the caravan, I guess the windows are good. There's silicone here, there's a rubber seal in there, so nothing's getting through the windows when they're closed up. But when it comes to refrigerator vents, these don't actually have any mesh inside, so embers could just go straight in, and it's highly flammable plywood in there. And there's our refrigerator. So here's an example of my hand behind it. You can see straight through. So this isn't ideal. And what we're going to be doing today is cutting out some aluminium fly screen and attaching it to this grill here, so that the caravan is more resistant to ember attack from bushfires. And here we've got another vent in the door, and that looks like it would have fiberglass fly screen in there, but what we're going to do is pop this off and replace the fly screen in there with aluminium fly screen. Alrighty, so we've got one of the grills from the refrigerator here, and what we're going to do is cut this aluminium fly screen to size. So that's nicely oversized. Then we can trim it later or leave it oversized. The way we're attaching it is with these tiny little zip ties. So if the zip ties are nice and small like these, they can actually just slip straight through the holes in the fly screen, which is pretty handy. Alright guys, the refrigerator grill number 1 is finished. I don't know if I'd call this my best work, but it looks alright for the functionality. So that's all protected now. And of course, this little hole here gets covered when you close the latch to lock it in place. So that's grill number 1 done. Alright guys, quick check-in on this top refrigerator vent. What I ended up doing was finding some tiny little screws that I had laying around, and we cut the aluminium fly screen to size, and I found that the neatest way is to just screw it on. It's more effective than gluing it on, and it looks really nice too. So if you can see that, I was using a screwdriver before and it was pretty challenging, but with the driver it's nice and easy. Alrighty, welcome back. Let's take a look at the finished product. So this is the steel mesh here on the refrigerator vent, and unless you know they're there, you'll hardly see the screws. So I'm pretty happy with this one. And this bit in there, this comes off and there's a little hole, so I put fly screen in there anyway. So this didn't need to be covered from the top. And yeah, this is us. So we've got a couple of methods here now. This one was done with zip ties, depends what you guys prefer working with. And this one was done with screws. I think I like the screws better. They look better, but I had to put holes, little holes into the vent itself, so both methods are good, I guess. is. This one's the easiest. Cool. So because we've got the cut out already, we'll just cut this one like that.
Because otherwise she's sitting like a test saying, oh, I didn't.
That spider is still in there. Let's find out why we actually replaced this fly screen with the aluminium ones. I mean, I've watched videos online, I haven't done it myself, but I'm curious to know what happens. So what we're going to do is burn these to find out how good they are in the fire. So let's have a go at burning this one first. This is the one from the Caravan, and my guess is that it's just a normal fiberglass fly screen. And what happens when these are burnt is they don't burn, but they lose their integrity a bit. So they say they become more flimsy. So let's see how these perform against each other. Fiberglass probably, unless it's plastic, and then in which case it'll melt. And this is aluminium. So test number one, fiberglass. Whoa, got a bit of smoke. Whew. Let's go outside, let that air out, and come back and see how we performed. Alrighty, so here we can see the burn spot semi-distinctly, and if I try and push my finger through it, basically I can feel that, yeah, it is getting a lot more flimsy. It feels more like cotton than fiberglass now. So you can see all the paint and stuff or whatever holds it together has fallen off. And we've actually got one fiber that's now coming loose there. So this would obviously still stop some embers. It's not terrible. It's not a terrible product. But now let's compare it to the aluminium one. So I've got a piece same size because I wasn't happy with the first cutout. So let's go ahead and burn this and see how this performs. So we've got a bit of smoke, probably from the paint, a lot less. Yeah, I'd say I'd feel a lot safer with these protecting me already, but let's compare the pair. So back to the fiberglass one. It's losing one of the fibers. It's gotten a bit flimsy. Just when you compare it to the rest of it, you can feel that the burnt section is now, it's no longer the same. But on the aluminium one, we just burned that for longer than we burned the fiberglass one, and pretty impressed by the performance of this one. So obviously if you're like in a flame zone for bushfire safety, you can't use aluminium, you got to use stainless steel. But we've got some distance between us and the trees, so aluminium is fine for us. We're Bell 12.5, so there we have it. There's the test, and we can see the difference. Actually, spoiler alert, I burnt it a couple of times before the test to find out what happens, and you can see everywhere that the light has been, it's got these spots, and basically it's losing its integrity. It's not the end of the world, but aluminium is a better product because you can't tell at all where it's been burnt. It still feels the same, it's just as firm. So yeah, pretty happy that I replaced it with the aluminium screens here. Thanks for stopping by our channel. In the next episode, you'll see some magic tricks as we show you the wrap up of our bushfire safety system, where we install the fire hose reels and show you guys everything in action.